Okay. Would you rather have to share in-ear monitors with Nita on the road or have to share in-ear monitors with Glenn?
It's kind of an easy thing because it would be the same person that I would like to have to share side by side hotel rooms with, because Nita's always very quiet to herself and just busy doing her, her promotion and her own thing in her room. Whereas Glenn is always practicing his drums loud as fuck in any situation, in any hotel room. And God bless him for that, because he's a great drummer. And that's the reason why he stays so great. But he's always hitting stuff. And so, I would always share my inner monitors with Nita on the road, because now, and I'm not sure, are you saying share it like the mix, or are you sharing it like the actual in-ear, so the earwax?
The physical
earwax. Oh, yeah. Well, that again, another no-brainer. Nita probably cleans her ears plethora of times more than Glenn does. I definitely think Glenn needs to clean his ears now. In fact, Glenn, clean your ears. Get it. I'm going to get Glenn some Q-tips for Christmas. That's what
there you go. Perfect. Perfect.
All right.
Or maybe even one of those.
The earwax candle
nicer
kit?
to give him. Yeah, when you pull, I've never done that. Is it gross?
No. Sounds awful and gross, but you know what? To each their own.
Yeah.
So neither of you have done it. Yeah. Okay. So then again, you can't really comment on it. It's kind of like anal. You can't really comment on it unless you've done it, right? So my feeling is like she had hot wax pouring.
Hi,
in
Dad.
your ear.
Yeah.
Right? You already said you were a hooker. Stop it. No, but having hot wax put in you, and then they yank it out, and apparently everything except a little part of your soul comes out with it as well. So
see, I have my degree in audiology, so like I've seen all the weird ear stuff, and so I stay away from all things ear. Okay. Not interested. Oh. All right, Danica, next one.
All right, guess we're moving on. So next,
everyone wants to get away. Move away from the anal talk as quickly as possible. As quickly we
there might be kids. There's not kids watching.
It's a trigger word for one of you. All right.
All right. Would you rather only use Flying V guitars or only use Explorer guitars?
Here's the deal with that. And that's a cool picture, by the way, that your producer put up of those Vs, those Flying Vs. I actually owned one of those at one point. An ex-girlfriend of mine had bought it. I owned it briefly because it looked too much like a coffee table. There's a model, I think, of the one that's in the back. It looked a little too much like a piece of furniture. But what I liked about this model, and it was somewhere in the early 80s that they came up with it, were these Flying V shaped pickups. So, but here's the weird ironic thing that you might not know, but now I'm getting an echo from somebody's phone.
Yeah, I'm hearing the echo.
Are we all hearing the echo? Is someone not using maybe someone cleared their ears out with wax, and that's the problem.
It's Danica's. That's okay. I'll mute her now. Go ahead.
Oh, now you muted her. Oh God, you just muted. Is that the same as canceling her? All right, but it is.
I'm sorry.
She was the echo. She was. Yes. She definitely was the echo. Okay, but anyway, there's no echo shaming here. Here's what happens in 1958. Gibson Guitars put out the Flying V and the Explorer, and urban legend says a third model called the Moderne. So, but the Moderne went lost in like poof, Kaiser Sose, it's gone. So there's a big mystery about if the Moderne actually was ever made, ever existed, and if the original ones ever happened. Was it just a design, or did it really go down? So that's part of Gibson's biggest mystery. But they were all three put out in 1958. And definitely the Flying V and the Explorer guitars were put out at the same time, because they were there in 1958. And you can see it now when I talk to you about it. They look like extensions of the types of cars that were available. Like the big wings of the Cadillacs that were there, and the sports cars and rocket ships and all this kind of stuff that America was sort of into. The American experience was going to the moon and having these big, huge automobiles. Well, the guitars actually imitated those things, and that's why both those guitars came out in 1958, and they were really used as promotional gimmicks that music store owners could hang in their music store windows in the front, so to gather eye candy to get people to sort of go into the stores. So they're kind of like the freak show of guitars in 1958. And I got to be honest with you, it's such a toss-up for me. Would I only use Flying V guitars, or would I only use Explorer guitars? I use them both on stage with Alice, so I have both models. Damn. I think if I had to make a choice, I would use a Carina Flying V, like a wood Carina Flying V, because to me, it's so like across the spectrum rock. You can be super, super heavy metal with it. You can be kind of hipster rock with it, like Lenny Kravitz when he plays a Flying V. It looks super hip. Or you can be like this sort of new wavy type of dude that, plays a Flying V. So, I mean, and growing up, one of the guys that was in a local band of mine named Paul Harris, he was in a band called Violation. They were like the local band that was bigger than life. And I was a little kid, and I would just go to his shows, and he was such a great he was such a great entertainer. He was like sort of like Rick Nielsen, but if I could see Rick Nielsen when I was 15, 16, going to shows, and he was right in front of me. So he used to do a lot of cool things with his Flying V, a lot of showmanship. And so, yeah, I'll use the Flying V. But to be honest with you, it's a
it's a toss up.
Because they are brother and sister at the same, they're sister, brother, sister, whatever you want to call it. They're definitely from the same family.
Awesome. Wow. I love that answer. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Next one. Would you rather, hold an apple on your head while Alice throws knives, or perform Schools Out next to Alice while he's blindfolded and he's holding the sword?
Well, if he's blindfolded, at least I can see where his sword is going to be, and then I can duck.
Yeah, true.
If we're both blindfolded, that is sort of taking your life into your own hands, because he will stab you. But then
unintentionally, right?
Unintentionally, no doubt. Yeah. Well, ask Tommy Henriksen. Ask him if it was unintentional or if it was intentional. He got too close to a balloon one day, and Alice likes his balloons. And during Schools Out, Alice likes to pop his balloons. It's a big deal for him to pop those balloons. He wants to get every last one of them. And apparently Tommy Henriksen got a little too close to one of the balloons, and the knife, the sword went through the balloon. Obviously the balloon popped first, and then it went through his leather jacket, went through the first layer of his leather jacket. So it left a mark.
Okay.
That being said, hold an apple on your head while Alice throws knives. I mean, that seems like it's super, super dangerous, but I got to tell you, Alice is really, really accurate with the knives. So I would almost say, let's take our chances with the knives, because then you're just putting the trust of Alice's accuracy in your hands, and he's pretty damn accurate. He can hit a ball pretty straight. Well, he hits a ball way straighter than I do, but he can hit a ball pretty much exactly where he wants to hit it, and he can throw a knife pretty much where he wants to throw it. So I'll do that one.
Okay, apple it is. All right, Danica, next one.
All right. Would you rather go back in time and jam with George Harrison, or go back in time and jam with Stevie Ray Vaughan?
Wow, that's a great question too. But I would have to say, no doubt. No, I'm not going to say the band, no doubt. I'm going to say I would have to go back in time and jam with George Harrison, because the Beatles were such a huge influence on me. I mean, and George Harrison, I always kind of thought was the coolest. he was the coolest of all the Beatles. Like he had the cool factor going. Obviously, John and Paul and Ringo. Ringo's got the cool factor now, right? Ringo's all now, like in the later years, they've all kind of, obviously, unfortunately, Lennon didn't make it too much into his later years, but Ringo at some point took on to be, the ultra cool one, stylistic and stuff. But back in the day, I think it was always Harrison, George. And, I named I named our first kid Lennon after the Beatles, and the only reason why he wasn't George is because his name is George.
George, right? Lennon is such a cool name.
George Roxie doesn't have the same zing, if you will, as Lennon. Lennon Roxie, I think, is cool. And I hope, it's up to Lennon whether he wants to keep his last name. I mean, obviously, I changed my last name when I was quite young. And, I was Ryan Roxie in 7th grade, and I never looked back. So, if I'm never going to hold it against him if he wants to go by any name he wants to go to. But, Lennon Roxie is a very cool name.
It is.
Compared to George Roxie.
George. All right. Okay. Here's the next one. Would you rather cover a song from the first album you ever bought, or cover a song from the first band you ever saw live?
Oh, that's an easy question for me.
Okay.
Because the first band I'm chewing ice, by the way.
No, that's cool. ASMR, folks.
It's what I do. Is that what you're calling it? Is that type of music that puts you in the headspace and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's when people talk very quietly into the microphone, or you chew and you eat food. It's for the sounds and stimulation. Yeah, people like hearing people chew ice. I don't know.
I tried it a couple nights on the bus, trying to go to sleep to it, and I had really weird dreams. So. But let's get back to the point.
Okay.
Because if I bought cover a song from the first album you ever bought, and I'm trying to think the first album I ever bought, my grandma bought it, but it was 2 albums. One, it was Clearance Clearwater Revival album, and the Osmonds Live. So do you guys remember the Osmond Brothers?
Oh yeah.
So now if Osmond Brothers Crazy Horses was the first album I ever bought, I would definitely cover a song off that, because I think that's one of the more underrated albums of our time. I think of my generation, the Osmonds Crazy Horses is pretty much from front to back killer record. If you like Guns N' Roses, you like Axl Rose's voice, which a lot of people don't, but I'd say the majority do. You're gonna flip out at how much he either pays homage to, or was influenced by, or definitely listened to the Osmonds. Because one of the guys that sings for the Osmond Brothers, one of the brothers, sounds so much like Axl. So
interesting.
So I guess I would have to go, but that wasn't the album that I bought. I told you it was the Osmonds Live, and there was a lot of Donny Osmond songs like Puppy Love and stuff like that. So I would have to go with a cover band from the first band I saw live, which would be the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
How about that? That was my first concert that I ever went to. Oakland Coliseum. My mother took me to a Jackson 5 concert with little Michael Jackson, who was, he was actually black at the time. So
that must have been so cool.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
It's when, it's before the whole transition took place of him, and when
he was a child.
An actual child.
And this is with Tito and everybody, man. So it was a great band. It was a great concert. It was I think it was 78. It was Dancing Machine. I'm dancing.
Yeah. I think Danica's heard me sing "I Want You Back" how many more times than?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like one of my go-to.
That one might be my favorite one that Heather covers.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. How does it go? Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Won't you please let me back in your heart? Something like that. Anyway.
Very good,
cool.
man. And I was thinking you were going to bust into an Aqua song. I'm a Barbie girl.
Oh God.
Anyway, okay. Next one.
Because
And
didn't the
I
lead
do have
singer
to
of
mention
Aqua have blue
also-
hair? I thought that the lead singer of Aqua did have
Oh,
blue
she
hair.
did, didn't she?
Did she? I thought she was a blonde.
Did she? Oh, I don't
Well,
remember.
she
We'll
might have
have
been
to-
half blonde and half blue, but that's nothing like what you're.
Now we're gonna have to find out.
Yeah. Guys, in the comments, Aqua haircut. Anyway, okay. Next one.
All right, next one. Oh, I was also gonna mention Lake Street Dive does a really cool cover of I Want You Back. They do it as a blues version, and it's delightful. Highly recommend.
Nice.
All right. So next, would you rather have had the chance to perform with Nirvana or have had the chance to perform with Zeppelin?
I probably would have been more accepted at a Led Zeppelin show, but I would have definitely wanted to play more with Nirvana because just to be part of that energy at that time, because I think that Led Zeppelin, if you went to a Led Zeppelin concert, you kind of just took in the music and it was kind of like, yeah, it's all right. Good. Whereas like Nirvana, it was like, it started the whole, I don't know if it started stage diving, but it just started the whole, it really re-energized a live show like vibe. And the reason I know that is because I was lucky enough to be a part of a band that sort of was doing shows in Seattle during not maybe the tail end of the grunge scene, but the sort of 3/4 way into the grunge scene. It was a band called Sweetwater, and I would fly up. They made a great album called Super Friends, and I would fly up from LA to Seattle on weekends and do these college gigs. And the minute we'd start on the fucking first note, the first kick drum beat, fucking people would be fucking everywhere, jumping off the stage, jumping in the pit, and everything was great. And the energy was so positive, but fucking intense. And that's the way I think it would have been in those days, those earlier days of Nirvana. I think it unfortunately, because of Kurt's problems, it kind of went downhill. I've watched a lot of YouTube video to see this, and it kind of did, it was a slippery slope. And once it went slip, it was like, wow, here we go. But a lot of early footage of that band is so fucking cool. I mean, Dave Grohl, imagine how good he is he's so good in Foo Fighters, but just playing drums, that's what that's how I knew him. So many people know him as the front person of Foo Fighters, but I know him as that fucking killer drummer of Nirvana, and he's still that guy. And I can never say his last name right, but Chris
Novoselic, right?
Okay. Everyone can say it better than I can. I
think that's it.
I did a podcast or an Instagram thing last week. I think it was earlier this week with Tom, and he nailed that name, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Like I've heard it so often that I feel like I should be able to know how to say it by now.
Although I'll be honest with you, to jam with Led Zeppelin would have been quite cool because all those guitars that Jimmy plays, I've gotten to play over the years. The double neck that's in that photo, for instance, and all the amazing Les Pauls. See, Kurt played a lot of Fenders, and he played the Jaguar, and he played left-handed. So it wasn't like I could have played his guitars. So that's one of the perks of playing with these guys. You get to play their guitars sometimes, and there was a lot. I played a lot of Slash's guitars over the years when we were doing Snake Pit, so that was quite cool. And we had his studio is called Snake Pit, so all those famous Les Pauls and cool Gibson guitars were just always hanging around. So you just go and jam on them every once in a while. And I remember when Gibson put out their Tom Murphy aged Les Pauls, like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. They only put a limited amount out. And one of my buddies here in Sweden bought that guitar super expensive at the time. Now it's worth like 3 times the same amount. But he bought it and he basically loaned it to me to play on Casablanca Records. I played it on a bunch of my own solo shows, and that Les Paul, that sort of replica of the Tom Murphy's, reminded me, played exactly like the one that I had played back in Snake Pit Studios. So yeah, it was a killer guitar and it sounded great. And if you guys ever listen to the Casablanca Records, that's that slash Les Paul all over it.
That's so cool.
That is amazing. All right, we got a few more of these. Is it okay we keep you for about a couple more minutes?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so the next one. Would you rather write the soundtrack for a Disney film or write the soundtrack for a video game?
What one pays more?
Yeah. I mean,
that's kind of a question. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm really not about first person shooter games. So I kind of would not want, it's kind of a, they're fun. I get it. My son's all into that kind of stuff, but it's like, what really gets me off about your music, dude, is when I get to fucking blow people away with it.
Yeah.
See, to me, that's really cool. It's not the reason I wrote the song. Although my buddy, I do have a buddy here in Sweden. And if you guys can probably check it out, you can go down if you're listening to this, and you are privy to a Google search, which I think you are. Go check out Bucket of Phosphor, because my buddy Johan Becker, who's like actually a pop artist, he's got this side project called Bucket of Phosphor. And it's the most video Call of Duty, Fallout 3, Battlefield 4, whatever you want to. It's so friendly. Those games that really makes you want to blow shit up. Those types of songs. So, yeah, I kind of think as much money as video game songs make, I kind of think that if you're in a successful Disney movie, fuck it, you can retire. I mean,
it's forever.
It might curse you, unfortunately, like the way it's cursed Smash Mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because I will say this on the record, and I don't care how much hate I get for it. I fucking think Smash Mouth is great. Might as well be walking on the sun. Might as well be walking on the sun. I love it. And I thought that singer was great. He's a super cool dude. I've done some charity work with him like back in the day in LA. But what? The band's always going to be, they're the ones that do the song from Shrek. Or, they're always going to think, yeah, rock star, they now get on to that. They're always going to think of that song as Shrek. And it's not Shrek. It's a great song. So, at the end of the day, though, what the fuck do they care? They fucking all got fucking probably. I mean, if they split publishing on it, they got paid. Yeah, it might be just one guy that got paid because he wrote it, and then I understand that whole publishing game. But if everybody got a little piece of it, they all are fucking saying it doesn't matter. Yeah, we're that guy. Yeah, we're the Shrek band.
I would love to be the Shrek
buddy.
band.
Yeah.
I don't mind being the Shrek man. I'll be the fucking, you got a lot of little album covers there. I'll be the, what's the best one? Who's your favorite Disney character?
Of all time, like animated or in person? Because, I mean, if it's not animated, I'm going to say Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins. But animated, I guess Prince Eric, I'll say from Little Mermaid.
Okay. Who's the chick in Aladdin?
Jasmine.
She was cool, I thought. Right?
Yeah.
She was kind of like early on all the, sort of like she was, if you think about it, life, like, animation imitates life or something, or art imitates art, or art imitates animation. She was kind of like sort of more popular right before the Kardashians started getting super popular, and then sort of, then it opened up the floodgates for like everybody to have a little bit more of a vibe, showing a little bit more midriff. And then all of a sudden, I think she opened up the whole gate for creepy old men to start watching Disney animation.
Yeah, creepy old men. We love
That's what we
you.
wanted.
I'm obsessed that
Or
everyone
maybe I'm just thinking like new school, because maybe Cinderella was like the first of the old school, or Snow White. She was probably,
she was number one.
kind of a creepier guy dream back in the 50s. And, imagine the shift of when these animation characters went into color.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
For the creepy guy, that must have been like a milestone.
Big day. Big day for the creepy guy. I really love that everyone in the chat is calling themselves now the Shrek Guitar Army. There we go. We're the Shrek band. Shrek, go Shrek. All right, we got 2 more. All right, Danica.
All right, let's see.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Would you rather have top bunk or bottom bunk on the bus?
Oh, man. It's a tough one because I vacillate. Usually these days I'm bottom bunk because there's so few people in our bus. And I know that sounds very white privilege of me to say, but because we are privileged and we're very fortunate to have 2 tour buses. And on our tour bus, it's just myself, Chuck, Kyler, and Alice and Cheryl are in the back. They have the back lounge. So there's only 3 people in the main sleeping cabinet. So that means there's only 3 pairs of shoes that get put out, side. So it's not smelly. It's okay. And everyone's has pretty good foot hygiene. But if you get on, it depends. It really depends on this question. Would really depend on who your bandmates are. Because if you have a bandmate that has, and by no fault of their own, has smelly feet and doesn't really know about Dr. Scholl's foot spray, which I think I should get an endorsement at this point because I use so much of it. I'm way into the foot spray. But anyhow, that's the thing. You will base your decision of top bunk or bottom bunk because top bunk is always a little bit scary when you're driving and you're hitting those bumps and you're going flying up, or you hit a turn and then you can just go toppling out. Whereas you're in the bottom bunk, you just roll onto the ground.
Yeah, that'd be my fear.
Yeah,
but
completely off.
But the sort of fear of actually catching a big loft of someone's smelly open shoes while you're sleeping and waking you up. Yeah, that's not pretty either. So luckily, like I said, everyone has really good foot hygiene on our bus. I can't speak for the other bus. I have no idea. But everyone on our bus, and I would assume they all have good foot hygiene. But yeah, we're all. I'm bottom bunk on these days. Because everybody takes care of their feet, and you should too. All in the chat, you should all take care of them.
You hear that?
Foot
Ryan
hygiene.
says, "Take care of your feet."
All right. Well,
Does anyone take away? It's static QR codes. Rihanna fucked me over 6 years ago, and take care of your feet.
Yes, very important. All right. Are we ready for the final one? Here we go.
Right,
the final one. Okay, would you rather wear a comically large hat on stage or wear a golfing attire on stage?
Don't I wear a comically large hat on stage already?
Fair. Fair.
Have you seen how large these hats are? These are and these aren't even the largest ones I've worn on stage. But obviously I would obviously want to wear a large hat. I like hats. I love wearing large hats. I think there's a time and a place for golfing attire. And I do understand Alice Cooper's management when they kind of want to, how some people divide church and state. Well, I think the Cooper camp likes to, sort of divide the golf and the rock. But even though I think we are very much rock and roll being into golf, it's about as rebellious a thing as you can be, looking the way we look going on to a golf course. I mean, tell me, we've freaked out a bunch of country club members over the years.
Oh,
but
That's
yeah, but so but there is a time and place. I wouldn't really want to do a whole show in golfing attire unless I was a guest star in Weezer, because then it would fit in perfectly, right?
Yes.
If I was gonna come up to be a guest in Weezer, that would be great. And then you could play your big loud, raunchy guitar and then have a sweater on.
Oh, the sweater song. I miss Weezer.